Welcome everybody to the WBC Podcast. We're going around the table. We got expert opinions combined with expert entertainment and definitely some interesting conversations. So welcome to the family. Appreciate y'all being here.
Your boy Shay Cotton, when I think about him and Manlove, Shay Cotton had them 2 foot bunnies, like where he off of 2 feet, man, was something. It was like Dominique Wilkins, man, or something. Like how explosive he was, like that, and he was good for a long time. Some of like how his whole thing went down with eligibility and all that stuff, like his start, to me is kind of like what stunted his growth more so than just
basketball.
His game wasn't quite good enough or nothing like that. Like if everything would have went according to plan, he would have had his shots to be in the pros. And then you know how it is for in the pros, right, depending on where you get drafted at, who you get drafted to, that makes all the difference in the world in terms of longevity in the pros. And so the talent was clearly always there, but some of the stuff just didn't quite go down right, where he wasn't able to. Wasn't it UCLA he was supposed to go to, and then ended up not being able to go there because of stuff that happened.
Well,
and
some
then
of that happened with
so,
Tyron too, where he was on his track of being like he could choose wherever he wanted to go. And then remember him and Howard kind of got into it a little bit, and then some of that kind of, and then at Oregon, could have been one of the best players at Oregon ever, but ended up transferring. Was at Colorado, actually, when I was down there playing at Mesa State. He was at University of Colorado, and he was I remember seeing him on the newspaper down there. Like he was putting in work down there with Colorado, but it didn't work out. And then he ended up with Beans for his senior year.
He got into it with Ricardo Patton at Colorado. I know that happened.
Yeah.
Did he go to Texas first?
Yeah, he went to Wayland Baptist at NAI in Texas, and then he came to Cascade.
He killed down there though, didn't he?
Yeah, wherever he got a chance to play, like he averaged like 14 or something when he was at in the Big 12 for like 13 games.
Colorado, no, he was balling. I told you, he was on the paper, like in the paper, like all the time.
I think a 20 piece down there. And then he averaged almost close to 25 with us at Cascade.
Yeah.
Scoring machine, man.
So he had triple-double against George Fox. Like it's like you guys said, he wasn't a one-trick pony like that. And we all know Ty, Manlove competing at a high level with ball, but then always gave like an appreciation or respect. He wasn't like, an asshole about it. Right. But he knew like, man, I'm superior. But there was a respect there, man. And he'd always be willing to pass on tips and help out. Like, I think he wanted greatness against him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he was always cool off the court.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know if you guys got a personal type of story that you want to share. I got a quick story when I was going into my sophomore year, and he was finishing my sophomore. He was finishing his freshman. So we were going into that, but it was like that right at the end of the year. And we did that Kermit Washington camp. You remember that, Beans? Yeah. So we went to the first day of the camp, and Beans, y'all was working at the camp. Yeah. And then Tyron, we ended up just on a humbug playing one-on-one. And this is me where I'm at as a no-name, and Tyron as he already was. Like he was already in the mix, played varsity as a freshman. And so we ended up playing at the end of camp one-on-one, and it was he ended up beating me like 11-9 or something. It was a close game going to whatever we went to. And then he was like, man, come tomorrow morning before camp. Like, we're going to play again, but with nobody watching. Like, it's just going to be me and you. But it was on some like, man.
Did he get you? Did he get you?
So we end up playing. I showed up like, yeah, I'll be there. Like, what's up? So we went there, and then overall, he ended up getting me. Like, we ended up playing like 5 or 6 games, and he ended up winning more than I won. But I wasn't supposed to be there. Like, at that time, that meant a lot to me to solidify what I thought about myself, being able to compete with him, even though he ended up getting more games than me. And then me and him had a different level of respect for each other. I remember Toos ended up going to Wilson for a minute. And he ended up saying, they ended up talking about it. And then he ended up saying, like, yeah, my brother told me y'all was playing at Jackson. He got you a few times. And then Ty told him, like, nah, yeah, y'all, we was going at it. Like, he had him a little story about, yeah, we did this. And yeah, he was balling something. But nah, that meant a lot just going at him. And that, Ty was so big at that time. Like, man, to be able to just be on the court and compete, like, man, that meant a lot for me. Knowing what I could do, man. So I don't know if it's other personal. I'm sure it is, because you guys competed just like even more than I did with him. But any stories y'all got, personal hoop level or whatever it is, and even you, IG, coming in when you came in, I'm sure you still knew who he was at that time. Whatever.
I did, and I didn't have any personal rapport with him until. I don't even know. Ooh. I can't say exactly. Maybe somewhere in the summer of, I don't know if it was my freshman or sophomore year, just hooping around Portland and kind of expanding the network. I remember when I first seen him, I had a respect for his game, but I was like, I remember Haas tell, he pumped him up. So he's like, he let me know who he was. And I was just like, okay, I could see it, but it's just kind of like a lot of people that like we talking about, even like the Shea Cottons, them dudes was ahead of their time. So by the time I caught up in the race, it didn't hit me the way it affected y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
you're right.
That would even more say the way I look at dudes like Shea and anyway. So it's like, yeah, y'all just jumped out the gate early, but he was always a cool dude. Never. It's funny, man, because basketball, dudes that come out on that court and try to live an alter ego, or try to, be something that they not when they not on the court.
Right.
A lot of dudes like to use intimidation. A lot of dudes, and being from LA, coming to Portland, being new on the scene, I experienced a lot of that. Dudes was trying to test me. Dudes was trying to, see what I was made of. And it was funny because I never experienced none of that with him. He was just always a straight up solid dude. He played hard, but he was never trying to like intimidate, punk, talk shit, or do no crazy stuff.
That wasn't even his personality.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, but like IG said, once you get to a point where like them cats jumped out early, and then by the time we was in college and stuff, man, it was the playing field had evened out some.
Leveling.
Then because it got, even like by my senior year, me and Tyron, like I'll say 8th grade is when I met Tyron. And I remember I had moved from LA out here and went to Beaumont, and then I was out there, but I was playing for Beaumont, and so I'm killing everybody. And I remember Brandon Hobson was like, I said, man, I don't know if there's an 8th grader out here, man, that can mess with me. And they was like, man, you gotta see our boy Tyron. I was like, man, I didn't see Tyron until Brandon Hobson and Sean Jones got me on ASP.
Oh, not Sean Jones.
Hey, after the first practice, I was like, hey, man, this is the best dude I've ever seen in my life. Hey, I had never seen nothing like that.
Man.
Yeah, because
ain't Sean Jones nickname Jinx, right?
Jinx, right.
Jinx,
right.
Yeah, man, he cool as a fan.
I had grew up, I grew up playing in Crenshaw Y against all these cats. like, you know, we play against Watts. They come to the game. They got jeans on, hooping. You know what I'm saying? They like you know, you beat them. They ready to fight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, I remember my dad was like, "Hey, get your stuff. Let's go. Game's over. We ain't hanging out." Yeah, but yeah, man, Manlove, man. From that time when I played with him on ASP, man, it was like, you know, that's when he was like, he's the one that brought me on the triple threat.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, man, we got to get him," and so we just always been cool, man.
He was already with Howard, wasn't he? I remember Howard being a part of that Oregonian article.
Well, right after 8th grade ASP kind of season, that's when he went to triple threat. So he transitioned over there. Gotcha. I remember I was seeing him. He had on
that when he was in that on the front page of that magazine, palming the ball. It was in that ASP jersey before like triple threat and stuff.
I don't remember. I don't know.
You talking about the Oregonian Earl?
I just remember, man. I mean, I remember that dude. I remember Ty having like being on the front of a magazine cover, like in middle school, man. Like, you know, we
Oregonian.
He played for Whitaker for football, and so you know how Whitaker had that outside court, and I just remember him always coming, and he was a year behind. And we'd be out there playing hoop, and he'd come out there, man, with pads on. Still got on his shoes, cleats, and it was cold as hell. And I used to just be looking at him like, first of all, them Whitaker hoops wasn't regulation. So you know how that big long court was. Mm-hmm. He shoot deep bomb 3-pointers, and you remember how we used to play like them crunch games where it'd be 100 people out there. And it used to just be amazing to me how the same people be winning.
Yeah,
the crunch game.
Yeah,
and the ball always
used to get his man.
He always was and hitting deep threes with 50 people around him, and I was just like, who in the hell is this dude, man? And just
skill.
Then you went and watched him play wide receiver, and he was Reggie Moss, Megatron. Like he was cold as man. Like well, for me, like how IG was saying, at the time of your life when you meet people and they make an impression on you, he was and still is the greatest athlete that I used to be encountering on a daily, man. He was like when you say LeBron James-ish, it was the first person when I think about people doing the Euro step, just everything, man. And so
but he had the 1 foot, the 2 foot.
Yeah, right. And just
either one.
Yeah, deep threes and dunks, man. I was like, man, that brother had that.
But he had pull-ups. He could play make. You know, he could throw.
Yeah, he was and he had dimes on the under, like that you
wasn't selfish.
You wouldn't have gave him enough credit for his passing. Because he definitely could pass the ball, but he was just so dynamic at them deep threes. Like,
he could have shot more.
Dunks was so.
He could have shot more. Like think of him, like him and Jay Frank was kind of on that same kind of level when they was both. I mean, Jay was a little bit older, a year older, but Jay was a scorer. We know what he was trying to do. Ty could have been that, and maybe probably even more, but wasn't even like played all the stuff. Like wasn't as concerned about trying to shoot every shot, and played with David Jackson, who was another first-team All-State player. Eventually,
they had to share balls with
Tyron scored at one point. I seen he averaged. So I don't know if y'all heard Deion Spencer did like a little thing because remember that team Oregon Elite.
So Deion did.
Yeah, so Deion did a little story. Like we went down to Oklahoma. It was Oregon Elite and Triple Threat went down there because they came like in second in state. And so we go down there, and I think he was talking about. He didn't say the name. I think he was talking about Sean Murray. He was like, "Yeah, my teammate, he's a cold hater. I say, oh, that sounds like it was either Sean or Peter. And he was like, he said, man, I'm tired of hearing about Tyron, Manlove. We hear enough about him in Oregon. Yeah. And then the next morning we wake up and Tyron's on the front page of the Oklahoma newspaper.
I read that article.
Yep, standing looking down. And they was like, it said number one player in the nation.
Wow.
This age group. Number one player in the nation. And that was the national tournament. And in that tournament,
Sean Murray.
This dude averaged.
Sean was his grade.
Well, first game out, he had 50. First game out, 50.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Cold,
50. And then he averaged probably about 38, 39 that whole tournament, man. It was like, it's amazing.
That's some of the stuff.
Put that ball in the basket, man.